Hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm Levi, this is my colleague Nick, and today we are going to talk with you about setting up a no-ops project using Lando, GitLab and Platform.sh. Those have been 2 busy days for all of us. We are already getting exhausted, so push through, we're almost there. I also need to warn you, because at the end of this session we will be doing a live demo, and everyone knows that doing a live demo sometimes it might be tricky. Things might not work, so if you're an anxious person, you're still allowed to leave the room, but we hope it will be just fine. We noticed that also this is today the 3rd session on setting up a local environment. We have seen a very interesting session about Docker for Drupal. Also a very good friend of mine, Bram, has been talking about another system. And here we are talking about a 3rd system, which is the perfect solution for you to set up your local environment. Now, we are not focusing on the tool that we are going to use. We are focusing today in this session on the entire flow. So setting up your local environment, doing your changes, deploying it using GitLab, and then deploying it on your live environment on Platform.sh. Now also, I would like to say to you that we are using Platform.sh as an example today, because we are using Platform as our hosting company. Now, you can replace Platform.sh with any hosting provider you want. Same goes actually for GitLab. However, we are using GitLab pipelines. More on that later. So I suggest that we kick in. First of all, I would like to introduce ourselves. So my name is Levi. I'm a solution architect working for the reference. Normally, when I'm not at conferences, I'm always wearing these kind of t-shirts because, it's my name, and it's really fun to see that people know my name just by my t-shirts. I've been working with Drupal for about 7 years right now. My main interest is the entire DevOps flow. Today is a very interesting time to work in, because we have serverless, we have Kubernetes, there's a lot of magic going on. On my day-to-day basis, I'm working within the reference as a solution architect. So that means I'm doing a lot of stuff with my teams. I set up interesting projects for clients. And also within the Drupal community itself, I try to contribute to a lot of stuff, not only to core, but I actually participate in organizing events and stuff like that. And my friend and colleague Nick is now going to present himself, and he'll take on the first part.
So, hello everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Nick. I'm a lead developer at Reference. I've been doing Drupal for 4 years now. And I will be doing the Lando part for today. So, who of you have heard about Lando? Who knows Lando? Okay, it's quite a lot. It's nice. So it won't be too much news for you, I think. For those who don't know Lando, it's not the Star Wars dude. It's something completely different. We are talking about what I like to call a Docker manager. It provides a CLI that allows you to combine all the Docker images that you need for your local setup without any hassle. It does that by using predefined recipes. You have a recipe, for example, for WordPress, and of course the one we are going to use for Drupal 8. As I mentioned before, it uses a CLI. What you don't want to do if you want to get started on Lando is update to Docker 2, because Lando isn't ready for the Docker 2 version yet. I had a colleague who tried it before, but things kind of broke, so please don't do it. As we are presenting a deploy flow to Platform.sh, we will have to make some changes to our default recipe we are getting from Drupal 8, as this is the default you are getting from the recipe. And our platform setup is using some different properties. If you would do a Lando init, it will generate a Lando file for you containing those values. It will ask you which recipe you want to use, a name for your app, and the relative webhook destination. For this specific setup we are showing you today, I changed some things to match our Platform.sh environment. That means we are using an Nginx server instead of an Apache, and are using a MariaDB and PHP 7.2. I'd like to wrap up with some handy commands. You may know them, you may not know them. Lando init, as I mentioned, is setting up your Lando file and configuring your whole app. Lando start gets you up and running. The Lando info will show you handy information about your database port or something else. Lando help shows you all different comments. And Lando list shows you all your apps you have on your local machine, so you can see what are running and which one are not running.
All right, my turn again. I don't know whether it's smart of me to ask, but has anyone heard of GitLab here? People who never heard about GitLab? Okay, cool. I'm really glad to see that. So just to give you more information about how we use GitLab in general, it's a very good tool actually. We use it for our own clients. And the advantage, GitLab has a lot of advantages compared to GitHub or other Git repositories. Now, first of all, it comes also with an issue board. This is almost the same as GitHub. GitLab has a very good user management configuration, so you can set up LDAP, you can set up open SSO, stuff like that. So that's also very good. Something we use a lot is GitLab's internal container registry. So for every project you build, you can actually use GitLab's container registry to push your Docker images to. Very handy feature also for us for reporting. Our PMs love this. It's time tracking, so we can estimate how long we are working on a given issue. The Wiki Functionality, it's almost the same as GitHub has. So it's with Markdown, so you can create pages, you can publish them, and you can send them to your client so that your client can see what the project is all about. And it integrates with almost anything. So today there is a lot of integrations possible with GitLab. We are using a lot of them. And I think, yeah, like every single team is probably using Slack. And one of the cool features about GitLab is the integration with Slack. For us, we are using it on a day-to-day basis, so we can immediately see when someone is creating a merge request, when someone is adding comments to the merge request. So that's very handy for us. Yeah, and basically, the most important thing, it has a Git repository service, so we use it for our storing our code as well. So no reason for you to say, to not use GitLab. I mean, it's open source. You can just deploy it on your server. And also there is an enterprise version where it's hosted in the cloud, but then you will need to pay some money for it. Now the cool thing is, maybe you were not aware of this, but during Drupal Europe there was an official announcement, and Dries informed us that we are actually moving Drupal to GitLab itself. So yet another reason for you to decide to already start working with GitLab. You should definitely try it if you have never tried it before. It's very cool. And also in the coming future, the core of Drupal will be hosted on GitLab itself. We will be able to create merge requests, which is something I find very useful. If you've ever been working on Drupal projects on Drupal.org, it's a real hassle to create some code and to get through the entire review process. I mean, you have to create a patch. Someone is going to add comments on that patch. You need to create an interdiff when there's a new patch. And with GitLab, it's just you click one button, you create a merge request. People add their comments, so I find it very cool. So we are already really excited that Drupal is finally decided to go to GitLab. Today, I'm not going to look into all of the details of GitLab itself. what I would like to do is give you more information about the pipelines in GitLab. So this is kind of a schema which we are using in our day-to-day DevOps flow. So as you can see, our developers obviously are writing code. They commit this code. They add all the related code to it. And what I mean is, for example, we are using gulp and npm libraries and stuff like that, all the front-end magic. And then we start off our pipelines on GitLab. And that is where all the magic is happening. So as you can see, here we have several stages. So first of all, we are going to build. And with build, we actually mean we do the composer install. We build our front-end packages using npm or yarn. And as soon as that is all done, we are going to zip that package and beam it to the next stage of our pipeline. And that's where we start a unit test. So as you know, Drupal 8 is now coming with PHP unit and Behat. So that's very handy. I definitely recommend you to look into the documentation, because unit testing and feature testing is like, you have to do it. And that's when our pipeline is kicking off the unit tests. So it covers more than just only unit tests. It's also PHP CS, PHP lint, PHP mess detector is involved as well. And then finally we do our Behat tests of Drupal itself. Now the next stage, if you're working for really big clients who have several systems, we are always using a TST environment in order to do the integration tests. For example, we are working on a project with the government, the Belgian government, and they have lots of systems where Drupal needs to integrate with. And we don't want to do that on our dev environment, because our developers are checking their new features they developed. We are not doing that on acceptance, because obviously the client is testing over there, so therefore we have our TST environment. And in that TST environment, we execute all of our integrations and see whether everything's still working as expected. Then finally, so that was the CI bit. Then the continuous deployments is also very cool. So what we do next is, if all these tests have passed, what happens next is that it's time for our other colleagues to jump into the merge request and start like digging into the code to see whether everyone's happy with the changes. As soon as everyone has approved, then automatically we will merge, and then we will deploy our environment to our dev environment. So that's all managed by GitLab. As soon as our development environment is deployed, we will execute our smoke tests. So we are using Behat for this, and that's a cool thing, because we don't have to worry about stuff getting broken as soon as we deploy it. So with these smoke tests, we pick some particular bits of our functionalities of our site and start testing these. Now these runs can take quite a while, but we don't care, it's just in the background, and in the meantime our developers can just check out whether their feature is actually working fine and as they would expect it to work. Then as soon as everyone is happy and our project manager says that we are good to go for an acceptance release, we just create a merge request to acceptance, from develop to acceptance, and then automatically the GitLab pipelines kick off another set of tasks. And for us that's probably no, that's the next one. So what we do then is we create an environment which is almost exactly the same as a production environment. And before we give the heads up towards a client in order to ask them to start testing, what we do is we perform performance tests and penetration tests. So today security is very important. You don't want your sites to get hacked, so penetration testing is very helpful. And also, people care a lot about performance. If your site is running slow or slower than your previous release, your client won't be happy. So therefore, we use Blazemeter, and we have set up an entire set of performance tests which will be automatically executed. Now, finally, if the client has given their approval, the last thing we will do is execute the go live. And basically what we do there is we deploy the code of master to our master environment in Platform. And yeah, it's simple as that. Now, in our day-to-day pipelines, what we also do is, because you know the hassle when you create your release, we automatically get all the Jira issues and we assemble them. We create automatically our release notes. We publish these release notes on Confluence, and we send an email to our project manager with these release notes saying, look, it's been successfully deployed. Please inform the clients that the new version is online. And that's all done automatically because you don't want your developers to spend time on things that can be automated. So that's about pipelines. Now this is an example of how a pipeline script can look like. So in GitLab we are using YAML files. As today every single piece of technology is apparently using YAML. So we are using an image which we have created especially for this purpose. So it's you can use it as well. It's open source. Go ahead, have a look at it. But it's a container image containing a lot of tools you can use for testing your Drupal environments. For example, PHP unit is in it. There is the Platform.sh CLI tool. If you're working even with Azure, and I know might sound a bit weird that I'm mentioning Azure here, but if you're using Azure CLI is there, Google Cloud CLI is there. It's a huge set of tools, and almost any tool you need is in that image. So here, what we do is we define our stages. The stages is actually, if we look back here, so every single bullet you see on this slide is actually for GitLab a stage. So in this example, we will only have one stage, which is called our testing stage. So if you don't have anything automated, just implementing this is already giving you a lot of confidence in the reliability and the quality of your code. So what we do is we execute PHP lint. It's just a simple linter tool to check whether there is no syntax errors. And then we execute PHP CS. Now this bit is a little bit tricky. So if you execute PHP CS for the very first time, if you've been on that project working for about 7 years and you're going to use PHP CS for the first time, I can assure you, you will see a lot of errors. So you want to avoid that, and you only want to check the files that have been changed. So therefore we added this kind of bash command, and what it basically does is to get you the list of the files that has been changed since the last commit. And on these files we are going to execute PHP CS. So that's a very basic pipeline. Now I want to make clear that we are totally advocating open source, and everything which you will be seeing today, you can also just go to our GitLab page and all repositories are available for everyone. So this is what it looks like in the user interface. So for example, you see now that we have built a doc root, so that's where we used composer install and composer update. And then GitLab is going to execute our validation tasks. So that's PHP CS, PHP lint, and PHP MD. And as you see, before any other developer is going to have a look at the merge request in order to validate whether the code is okay, GitLab is already pointing us like, guys, you made a mistake there, so maybe you want to fix that. If we open the details of that builder, what we can see is a lot of code and magic going on, but the most important bit is the output of PHP CS itself. So as you can see, one of our developers has used 3 spaces instead of 4 spaces. I know it's ridiculous. And we were in a time where every single merge request was having like 20 comments saying you need to use 2 spaces, you need to use 4 spaces, stuff like that. And we found that we wasted our time on that. So therefore we added this so that we just can look at the functionality of the code and not like the code style, because we shouldn't care about that. So this is actually what I find when I'm developing and we are using this. It's like always like this. So you're happy that finally you made those changes and everything's working. You committed, you're really excited, you announce to your colleagues, guys, you have to look at this. And then your colleagues say, yeah, dude, but your pipeline failed. So then you have to fix PHP CS again. Now I know you can fix this by using Git pre-commit hooks, and you should definitely do that. But today we don't assume that we are doing it. So now this is from a project we are currently working on, and as you can see, every single merge request for us is getting like through the entire pipeline flow. And at the beginning, if you're going to implement it, it might be a little bit overwhelming, and people might be struggling like, do we really need this? But you will save yourself a lot of time. You will notice that the velocity of your development team will increase because they spend more time on doing what they have to do, and that's to develop code. You don't want them to spend lots of time on analyzing whether everyone is using the correct syntax and so on. So, as I mentioned before, GitLab has lots of integrations, and we are using Slack. I mean, today everyone is using Slack or Rocket Chat, obviously. And as you can see, this is exactly what it looks like for us on Slack. And I find this very useful because I don't want to open my browser, don't want to look whether there's a new merge request. So in our client's channel, we see that someone has created a new merge request. As soon as someone is adding comments to that merge request, it immediately is getting announced on Slack as well. Sorry, it's in Dutch, but it seems like Philip noticed that some of the spaces seem not to be correct, and that's not on a PHP file, just to be sure that I'm not, telling you lies here, but that was in a JavaScript file, which we do not lint. So as soon as the comments are added, Frederik is going to check what he has to change, and he's going to change it, and he adds an extra comment saying, okay, all is done. Then Philip knows, okay, he's completed it, so I can just go there, have another go at it. He approves, and then Frederik automatically merges the next feature into the branch. So that's how GitLab works. Now, as I announced in the introductions, we are going to do a live demo. I know it's most of the time not a very good idea, and I really hope nothing is going to fail, but we've tested it several times. So what we are actually going to do today is, first, we are going to create, so we have set up, just to give you the background information here, we are going to set up, we have set up a new project. It's just a base Drupal project. And we are using the cool demo version of Drupal, the Umami profile. And what we are going to do is we're going to change something. So we are going to create a merge request with that change. We are going to see whether the code is okay, that everything is done in a good way. Then we will do some quality assurance using Behat. And then we will deploy it to our development environment. Then we will see on the development environment whether everything is looking fine. In the meantime, then we are going to do the TST as well. And if we are happy with the changes, we will deploy it on acceptance for our client. During that deployment, as soon as the deployment is finished, we will do the pre-go live check, which is performance testing and penetration testing. And then finally, we will launch and we will go live. And I really hope that we will get there. So this is the tricky bit. Nick is going to give you the demonstration, and I will be supporting Nick. So I'm the project manager, and I say, look, Nick, nice project. So if you open the site, this is looking really interesting, Nick. But it would be cool that we have some tags here as well. So any chance you can add tags? Oh, you already knew that I was going to ask. But thank you, Nick. So by the way, this is if you haven't seen it, it's Umami. You should definitely try it out, especially if you would like to introduce your clients to Drupal if they don't know what Drupal is. There's a lot of people within our community that have done an excellent job on creating these profiles, so just try it out. It's really cool. Okay, Nick, you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's going to create a merge request, and we use a lot of CLI because the user interface sometimes is slowing us down. So as you can see, Nick is currently running the website on his Lando environment, And what he's doing now is he's using the Drupal's internal build config exports in order to apply those changes to the code. And as you can see immediately, Lando is interacting with our local setup. And we don't have to SSH into our Lando box. Everything is managed by Lando. So we have changes in the node article, and he's going to add that now. So you see that he has created a new feature branch. We are using the Git flow for the majority of our projects, so that's the reason why we are using feature branches. So now he has added this to the repository, and also I want you to change some of the code here. Yeah, that's good. Well, that's not good, but we'll see whether GitLab likes it. So he's going to add, we created also a custom module. It totally has no purpose. We are not going to give this back to the community because it's not useful. But it's just for demoing the PHP CS capabilities and how handy that can be. So now we have two changes. So we changed the configuration, and we have added some custom code in our Drupal camp module. So now Nick is going to commit this, and he's pushing these changes to GitLab. And the cool thing is that automatically, you have this with GitHub as well, but I find it's very useful that it's automatically creating a link for you for creating that merge request. So here we go. So Nick is now creating that merge request. Normally you would specify in your merge request that at least one person has to approve this. And now we can see that the pipeline has kicked off. So if he's opening this, and this is the tricky bit, this is the bit where it always fails probably. So what we see here is that first of all we are building our .root, which means that we are doing composer update. We are installing all of the required front-end packages, and that's been successful. That's good. So the next step is, as soon as the .root has been built, GitLab is going to beam all of these this code to the other builders in the validate pipeline. And there we are going to use PHP CS in order to check whether the code syntax is alright. We are going to use PHP lint to check whether there's no syntax errors, PHP MD to see if we have unnecessary complex code, and then PHP sec, which is a custom build package bias. It's a tool that will audit your code and see whether you have any security violations. So Nick has done a very bad job today. So PHP CS failed. So I won't be looking at his merge request because the PHP CS failed yet again. So if he's going to open it, you can see that the code we just pushed, there is something wrong with the syntax in it. So Nick now is going back to his editor, and he's going to change it to make sure that that test also passes. So if he pushes that again, you will see that immediately GitLab will kick off another set of pipelines and do exactly the same thing. So over and over again. So this is the cool bit. This is like CI/CD in its best possible way. So here you see we're building again .root just to make sure that we have the loudest code, because that code is going in the end it's going to our live productions. So as soon as it's built, we are going to go through the PHP CS lint, MD, and sec again. And then in the last step, you can already see it. And I'm going to be really honest with you, we cheated today because maybe you have already executed bhat, but it tends to take some time. And as we are only limited to 15 minutes, we are not going to execute all of it. So, but in our projects and in the code you can find in our repositories, we have set up bhat for executing all the bhat stuff in Drupal, and also PHP unit, just to make sure that our unit tests are passing as well. So if we now wait a little bit, you see that now the PHP CS has passed, so that's good. So I already know that PHP lint was passing and MD and sec as well before, so probably it will pass as well. And only if all of these 4 checks have been completed and are okay, we are going to start the really the tough tasks like bhat smoke test. We don't want to kick off some browsers in Selenium before we are 100% sure that the code is actually good enough to be tested. So now GitLab is doing our Behat smoke tests and is executing our PHP units, and everything is fine, so everything has passed. So the next thing we can do is actually have another look at the merge request, where we see that GitLab indicates, look, this is perfectly fine, you're allowed to merge this. So like I said, normally you would like to add some approvals here, saying this merge request needs at least 2 approvals. But for now it's okay, so we can merge it. And the next thing, what happens is, and you see it immediately on the screen, GitLab is kicking off a second pipeline, and this is our deployment. So this is the CD part. So here we are going to deploy to both our dev and TST environments. Now you can still separate this, it's just a matter of how you add it into your YAML file. And if we have a look now at deployed dev in the console, you will see that a lot of magic is going on. So we use the Platform.sh CLI tool in order to deploy our projects. So this is all done by Platform itself. So the only thing we are doing is saying in the Platform CLI tool, look, push this code to the development environment, and Platform.sh is now building exactly the same thing as we did. You will notice that it might take some time deploying this, but you just want to be sure that everything is just working fine. If we go back to the pipeline then, because we are going to allow this to be run in the background, you will see as soon as he's done with dev, he's going to do exactly the same deployment on our TST environment. Now we only allow the pipeline to start the TST deploy as soon as the dev deploy has been passed, because if one fails, it's quite obvious that the other one will fail as well. So let's have a look again at the deployment, where we are. Should be almost finished by now. Yeah, okay. So we see that the job succeeded. We immediately get, from Platform, we receive the endpoints where we can access the site. So we are going to have a look in our development environment and see whether this has changed. So just to be sure, the URL is, it's on Platform.sh right now. And if we are going to have a look, all right, we have touched it so many times and failed thousands of times, but we're really happy to see that we just deployed this to our dev environment. And Nick is now checking whether everything's working fine, whether this is exactly the same as his local environment. And I think we can agree that this is looking good. So I'll be like the project manager again, and I will ask you, Nick, to create, to deploy this release to our acceptance environment, because our client is waiting for us to deploy this, because they really would like to have those tags. So what we do here is there's different ways how you can actually do this. What we do is we create a new merge request. So we want to merge all the changes of our develop environment into our acceptance environment. So what we're doing right now is having a look at all the changes that are there, and there's a lot of changes. I would expect only one commit, but apparently there's like a lot of them. If you could just have a look at the changes, what has changed? Yeah, maybe we just see what's happening, create a merge request, and let's have a look at it. Okay, so now there are merge conflicts, obviously, and in the meantime, it's a good thing that there's 2 of us. I'll be fixing the merge conflicts. So this is the bad thing about doing live demos. People warned us for this, but see what happens. So we have been working on the GitLab CI script to today, and apparently those changes were not yet in develop. So doing that as we speak. Okay, Nick, can you have another look? Okay, so now it's good. So as you can see, yeah, this is basically exactly the same as the merge request we created earlier. So the cool thing is, and the reason why we are using merge requests is just to be sure that when you are going to deploy this on your acceptance environment, that you have a final look on what is it that we are going to deploy. You could use also some pipeline jobs to do this all automatically so that the merge is done automatically, but we prefer to have another look at it before we deploy it. So if we open the pipeline right now, we can see that a lot of stuff is, oh yeah, that was the deploy I just did. So that will probably go well, so we have to wait until that's finished. So if you open the merge request again, then we can see, yeah, you can already click on merge when pipeline succeeds, so that's also a cool thing. So if already someone has approved this, we can already, okay, what's that? Why did you add a smiley to it?
I didn't.
Oh no, it's probably someone in the room. Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, that's also a cool feature of GitLab, so you can add smileys and stuff like that. Thank you for that, Jack. So we're waiting until it's finished, and then you will see that we set up a new pipeline which is going to add, yeah, and that just happened. So here we are yet again building our duck root. We are deploying our acceptance environment, and if all goes well and the acceptance environment has been deployed, the next thing we are going to do is use Blaze meter to do the performance testing, as well as the penetration testing. And yet again, just for live demoing purposes, what we did here is just add a sleep script so that you can actually see that how it should work. But normally you would actually execute these tests. So now the deployment to acceptance is ongoing, and you see the output is almost exactly the same. We see that Platform.sh is running our drush tasks in the environment. Stuff has changed. So the job succeeded, and now the project manager, because our project manager most of the time does not trust us when we say it's done. So I ask you as a project manager, Nick, can you please show me the acceptance environment before I send this to the client, because otherwise, yeah, all right, perfect. So the tags are there as well. So that deployment went well. So now as a client, I see, okay, the tags are there, we're good to go, and this can go live. So the next bit we're going to do, and I hope there's no merge conflicts there, is merge acceptance into our master environment. So, oh yeah, Nick, in the meantime, can you show me the pipelines again? Because the performance tests are still ongoing, so we can make sure that these have passed. Yeah, so we see 3 green stages, so that's all well. So we are happy to announce to our client, look, we're completely ready. Everything has been tested end to end. We can actually deploy this to your production environment. Now it's actually Saturday, and you don't want to deploy on Saturday. You preferably want to deploy on Friday. So yes, we are going to deploy it anyway. We don't care about it. It's Saturday. So we are going to validate whether everything is looking good. Yeah, okay, seems okay to me. So no merge conflicts. Okay, cool. The pipeline has passed. So yeah, we can just click merge, because obviously we are not going to do tests here. Everything has been tested before. So this is our go live pipeline. And what you see here is quite simple. Everything's been tested. There's no need to retest everything again. The only thing we're doing is building our Docker root and deploying it to the production environment. So, Nick, if you already could have a look at the production deploy, the script itself. Alright, cool. Also, a very good tip I'm going to give you, if you have in your office an empty desk, the GitLab runners itself, you can use the shared runners, but you will notice that you have to wait sometimes quite a long time in order to get your job started. If you have an unused computer in your office, just install GitLab runner on top of it, and it's a single command you have to execute. The GitLab runner is running in the background, and your builds are going super fast. So we have actually installed this. So this is the iMac on the standing desk, as you see on the right above. And actually this, and please don't mention it, but this is the iMac of our project manager. She's not aware that we are using her iMac as a GitLab builder, but sometimes she's nagging about the fact that her computer is slow. But we tell her, yeah, it's just you're using Microsoft and stuff like that. So, okay, the job succeeded. So we are happy to announce to our client, look, client, we have tested everything, and now we are actually going to our live environment and see whether those changes are there as well. And yeah, there we go. So what you've seen now is we deployed, well, we changed code, we did some code analysis stuff, we deployed to 3 different environments, and it's all just a matter of a few clicks we had to complete. So this is really easy to set up. Have a look at our code repository, because everything is there, and we are also adding support now for Apia. We already have support for Pantheon, so we keep building this, but we want to make sure that it's quite easy for you to set up your local environment and the entire flow without having to consult a DevOps expert. So have a look at it. If you have any feedback, just let us know in the issue queue. And I think we are done here. And I'm really surprised by the fact that the live demo only had 1 issue and we fixed it. So nice. Thanks. Right, any questions? Yeah?
So you don't do any tests on the production environment, but it's a different environment, so it could be variables that are different. Shouldn't you test on production some parts as well?
Yeah, okay, so the question was that we are not testing on our production environment, and whether we should do these kind of tests because the production environment has different variables. Yes, I agree. Normally what we do is, and we don't use Behat or stuff like that, but we are using, and I can't recall the name of it, but it's a robot framework. And with this framework, we actually do live testing on production. So we have a set of recorded tests, which we are going to execute as soon as the deployment is done. This is something we can still add to our flow, because it also can be automated. And I definitely, indeed, agree that you still have to test on your production environment. Any other questions? Yeah.
How complex the GitLab CI files are for adjusting or creating from your point of view?
So your question is how complex these files are. Well, I can just give you a view on the GitLab CI file we use today. So it's only 200 lines of code, but what we do is it's kind of a... So you see the point DevOps, that's where all the magic happens. So before GitLab is going to execute his builds, we tell him use this before script, and then we link to the DevOps bit where we added our SSH, our bash commands. But until line 148, you see this is the structure of our entire pipeline, which you have seen today. So like I said, there's a lot of sleeps in it, just because, yeah, demoing purposes. But it's really easy actually to set this up. For example, if you already have the PHP-CS configured in your repository, or if you're using our Docker image, you can just write PHP-CS and it will be executed straight away. So the syntax of the GitLab pipelines is quite easy to understand actually. And if you've been working with Travis CI, for example, you will notice there's a lot of stuff in common.
Okay, thank you. And another small thing, you also mentioned that it's not wise to run PHP/CS on legacy code after 7 or whatever years, and you only scan the files that were changed. Did you also manage to scan only the portion of the files that were changed? Because sometimes in legacy code you have a file with 1,000 lines and you change only one, but you have to fix.
I get that.
You get the idea.
We've been there like a lot of times. Now, what I always tell to my team is you can use Wikipedia for it, but it's the Boy Scout rule. So wherever you go, you always make sure that the place where you go is cleaner than when you leave, that it's cleaner than when you arrive there. And that's applicable to this kind of scenario, because with PCS you can only analyze complete files. So yeah, if you're having a PHP file of 2,000 lines of code and you change one character, sorry, you're screwed.
Yeah, of course you can use PHP, CBF, Levi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But,
indeed. That's actually because the Drupal Association is doing quite a lot of interesting work as well on automating all the patches and stuff. And today, if you submit a patch, Drupal.org is automatically going to use PHP CBF in order to fix that. So that's definitely something we can add as well to save up even more time. Good idea.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? All right, good. Thank you. See you next time.